Good afternoon, everyone. This afternoon, we'll be attending a session entitled Entrepreneurial Mindset, 21st Century Leadership Skills for You and Your Students. Changes in the rules of employment and global demographics means that an entrepreneurial mindset, a 21st century life skill, will be required for career and personal success in the future. More and more individuals must take responsibility for creating their own opportunities, whether they are working inside of an organization, working for themselves, or building a business. What is it and how can you develop an entrepreneurial mindset? It is not at all abstract and is easier than you might think. In this session, learn how to awaken and develop your own entrepreneurial mindset. Next, I'll be reading the bio for Katie Gales, Director of Entrepreneurship Initiatives at Wake Technical Community College. Katie Gales earned an undergraduate degree in business administration from Bennett College for Women in Greensboro, and later an MBA from the Duke University Fuqua School of Business. She had a long career with IBM, including serving as the first African-American female marketing manager in the IBM office in Roanoke, Virginia. In 2006, Gales formed her own business and marketing strategy firm and has also counseled displaced workers through a government program called Growing Americans Through Entrepreneurship since 2010. In 2013, Gales became an adjunct instructor of entrepreneurship at Wake Tech, and also began serving as a counselor at the Wake Tech Small Business Center, where she has worked with more than 200 entrepreneurs and small business owners.
I think that's my cue.
Yes.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for your interest in this topic. It is one that I'm very passionate about. And I'd like to say, Maura, I guess you'll be watching the chat in case some questions come through. If you could do that for me.
Yes, ma'am. Consuela and I both will.
Great. Thank you so much. So please engage and ask questions as we go along. Entrepreneurial mindset. That word entrepreneur is all over society now. It's very trendy. It's very popular. And I like to start off by digging into the word, where it came from, how it started. And the word entrepreneur was first seen in the mid-18th century, and it started off with two definitions. The first is a person who starts a business. The second is farsightedness or innovation. I think most often today, we assume that the word entrepreneur means a person who starts a business. In fact, early in the 20th century, the word was used for a go-getter, a person who is an independent business owner, the rugged individual who steps out on their own and starts something from scratch. I like to think of the word entrepreneur as a little bit broader than just somebody who starts a business, although that is very significant in society today, because entrepreneurs, small business owners, are the ones who anchor our communities. And it's the solution to a lot of our socioeconomic problems, because over 90% of all the businesses in the United States are entrepreneurial ventures, small business owners. But let's look at the broader definition, what I call the real definition of entrepreneur. It's someone who's able to see an opportunity and is willing to assume the risk to pursue it. Someone who is able to see an opportunity and is willing to assume the risk to pursue it. So if you look around you, you can probably see lots of instances where someone has seen a problem or an issue that needs to be addressed. They see the opportunity to address it, to solve the problem. They've jumped in there and started something. It could be a club. It could be a community group. It could be a nonprofit business, a for-profit business. It could be a church. It could be anything where there's an opportunity to do something, to improve something, to innovate something, to create something. So I like to hang on to this broader definition of entrepreneur, even though my work at Wake Tech is aimed at the people who start businesses. I find that even people who start businesses, if they don't have the right mindset, it will affect the success of their business. So I'm really all about getting, as my mother would say, getting your mind right as you go forward. There's a reason why everyone should be an entrepreneur, should have that entrepreneurial mindset. You know, the rules of employment are changing. When I started my career, and I won't tell you how long ago that was, it was common for people to expect to get a job in a university or a government entity or a large corporation and stay there for 30 years, retire with a pension, and that's it. But that's not happening anymore. There's the growth of the gig economy, where not only do companies not want to make that long-term commitment to employers, the new generation of workers aren't interested in that long-term commitment. They're more interested in taking a job and fashioning it so that they have a great quality of life. And they're putting more focus on the culture of the business and the mission and vision of the business than just having a good job with a good pension. So the growth of the gig economy means that people need to be more entrepreneurial in the way they think about their lives. Increased globalization makes it very critical that we all take responsibility for our own opportunity, because as we saw with the pandemic, something can happen on the far corner of the globe that can really affect your business, can affect your community, can affect your health. And so we all have to take responsibility for taking advantage of opportunities, for positioning ourselves to leverage those opportunities, and for the success in our own careers and in our own lives. This next bullet is my opinion, but there's reduced political compassion. It seems like our focus on helping people at least in the political infrastructure is going down. We are wanting to spend less and less money helping individuals and more money helping companies. So that means that individuals have to step up and be entrepreneurial in the way they approach their lives. And the increasing rate of technological change means that you may start off with one skill set, and because of technological advances, have to change to another skill set to continue your career. And you can think of things like what the automation that's happening in manufacturing, the changes in green and renewable energy, the way that retail is handled now. Think about the number of retail professionals that are now having to pivot and change their skill set and be more comfortable with the digital sales environment as opposed to selling over the counter. So if these are just a few of the trends that's focused on that changes the way that we operate, and also makes it important that we all should be an entrepreneur. So let's look at the entrepreneurial mindset from a macro perspective, because an entrepreneurial mindset gives people permission to change the world if they want to. Because an entrepreneurial mindset says, I can see things that need to be done differently. I can see where there's a change is required in the wide open world, and I can go do that. They really believe that they can and should pursue their dreams. So nothing is really out of reach for a person with an entrepreneurial mindset. And I think this is something that we want, especially our young people, to feel. People with an entrepreneurial mindset believe in themselves and in the control they have over their own lives. And they trust that even when things are uncertain, they'll figure it out. So they don't have to have all the answers at the very beginning. They can step forward with the best information that they have at the time, and then learn things, figure things out, develop skills, find solutions as they move along. This is really important in a fast-paced economy, because there is no such thing as perfect information. And if you are paralyzed when you don't have it, it will be very difficult for you to be successful. And also, people with an entrepreneurial mindset wake up with a purpose or something that drives them, something that motivates them from within. This is important no matter what you do in your life. So let's look at the entrepreneurial mindset from a micro perspective, like exactly what traits and skills are included in the entrepreneurial mindset. I mentioned earlier that entrepreneurship is fashionable and this word is very trendy. So I will tell you that if you were to go to the source of all wisdom right now, Google, and type in entrepreneurial mindset, you will find Well, the last time I did it, which was a couple of weeks ago, 25 million hits, because everybody has an opinion about this. There are the 5 most important, the 5 most critical, the 25 prerequisites, the 3 you must have, the one that will make all the difference. Everybody has an opinion. And I will admit that what you're seeing right now, this is my opinion, based on having worked with over 1,000 entrepreneurs and coached a lot of people, young people, who are starting businesses, some who are starting not starting businesses. So I invite you to go do your own research, but I will share with you the ones that are what I think are most important, the traits. So the difference between a trait and a skill is a trait is something that's inherent to you. It's more of a habit and a way of approaching things. A skill is something that you can learn or study. So traits, character traits, motivated. If you're going to approach life from an entrepreneurial perspective, you need to find that internal motivation. Be energetic. And when I say energetic, I don't mean be able to run a 6-minute mile or be able to play an 18 round of golf twice a day. I mean mental and emotional energy, the ability to push through when you are mentally exhausted, to find that extra oomph to move forward. That's what I mean by energetic. The other trait is the ability to persuade. I used to have sales here, but people are uncomfortable with that word, and there's a little bit of a negative connotation to sales, because some people think that sales means that you're convincing people to do things that they don't want to do, or do things or buy things that they don't need. So I changed it to persuasive, because you persuade people every day. Everybody has a persuasiveness skill to different levels. When you're trying to get your kid to eat those carrots and you're successful, good deal. You've been very persuasive. And as an entrepreneur or person with an entrepreneurial mindset, then you are going to constantly be focused on trying to move the ball forward, which requires that you have a persuasive character trait to some degree. It's a habit. It's one of those muscles that the more you use it, the better you get at it. Ethical behavior is a key entrepreneurial mindset, because you are aware of things that go on around you and you don't want to damage your reputation. So you are concerned about whether or not you're doing it right, whether or not you're showing integrity. An entrepreneurial thinker is also a good communicator. Doesn't mean that you're like Tony Robbins, you're a professional speaker. It means that you're able to get your point across. And when I served on a micro enterprise loan committee, review committee, we saw some loan applications come through. And when we interviewed the applicants, some of the very highly educated people who use really big words when they answered our questions were not good at communicating. And when we finished the interview, we were like, what did they say? But then there are others who split every verb. And I'm not recommending that you learn how to split every verb, but there were others who were not the best speakers, but they were able to get their point across in a credible fashion. So that's what I mean by a good communicator. An entrepreneurial thinker is goal-oriented. They have a target for doing things. They're not just out there floating. An entrepreneurial thinker is disciplined. This is probably one of the most difficult ones. And when I do assessments, the ones that people tend to rate themselves lowest on, because being disciplined reminds that you manage the most difficult thing to manage, and that is yourself, because nobody knows what promises you've made and commitments you've made to yourself. But it's a habit, and it's certainly something you can work on or you can change. Being self-confident, which is different from being arrogant. Self-confidence is a quietness about you that shows itself in determination and the ability to step forward. Being accountable, being willing to take the responsibility for things, and also being socially conscious. Social consciousness means that you recognize that your decision can affect others, that your actions can affect others. So some examples of socially conscious behavior is recycling, turning the water off while you're brushing your teeth so you're not wasting as much water, not dropping trash on the street, not speeding, taking a look at with the ripple effect of, if I do this, how will it affect the people that work around me? That's being socially conscious. And being risk tolerant, not having to know all the answers or know every single step ahead of you before you make a move. Now, that doesn't mean risky behavior. There's a difference. So think of the tightrope walker. You think they're absolutely crazy for hooking wires between two tall buildings and getting out there with a pair of slippers on and a stick and walking across that. But they're not gambling because they have practiced for years. They know exactly what type of rope or what type of wire, what it should be made of, how wide it should be. They know exactly what type of shoes to wear. That stick, they practice with it, is balanced just right. They've studied the weather. They know where the sun is. They know where the wind is coming from and how strong it's going to come. So they are risk tolerant, but they're not gamblers because they have prepared for success, but they understand that there is some risk in that. That's what I mean by risk tolerant. And entrepreneurial thinkers are realistically optimistic. You prepare for the worst, you know it can happen, but you expect the best because you put in the work to make the most positive outcome also possible. Feel free to put your questions about anything that I'm saying in the chat window. If you relate to any of these character traits, or if there's one that you think I should do a better job explaining, please let me know, and I'll be happy to go back and do that. Moving on to skills. I mentioned that skills are things that we can learn and study, where the traits are more habit. They're things that are inside of us, but like any habit, you can work on changing that. So if you're not as disciplined as you'd like, you can improve that by putting a plan in place and monitoring it so that you can get better in that area. With skills, there are usually classes you can take or things you can read, some personal development programs that you can go to help you in the skills area. Creative problem solving is one of the top skills that's needed for a person with an entrepreneurial mindset. And that is the ability to look at a situation and find creative ways to go under it, over it, around it, resolve it, and not just give up when you run into an obstacle. This is a muscle as well. So the more you do creative problem solving, the better you get at it. And eventually people may come to you with a problem and you will come up with a solution right away, and they'll say, how did you do that? And it's because you have really developed that muscle. Market awareness is a skill you can develop. It's the process of understanding what's happening around you in society, in whatever profession you're in whatever community you're in. And it is a skill you can develop by just teaching yourself to read, to talk to people, to listen, and to observe. Low support needs. If any of you, after I describe this, if any of you have a suggestion on different words I can use, please let me know. Low support needs means that you can operate relatively independently. It doesn't mean that you're perfect at everything, but that you don't need somebody to hold your hand and do everything for you as an individual. So you know how to check your email, you know how to cook a meal, you know how to clean your house, you may know how to put gas or oil in your car. These are some examples. As a business owner or as an entrepreneur, you may know how to do some marketing and how to manage your finances to some level. You're not totally helpless, because it's very difficult to move forward in life or in a business if every step you take, you must have somebody there doing things for you. So I invite any of you with suggestions on better words for this skill, put them in the chat window. I appreciate it. I always get a lot of questions about this one. Time management is a skill that an entrepreneurial thinker must develop, because in reality, no matter what we're doing in life, what we're using is our most limited resource, and that is time. We all get 24 hours a day, period. Some people seem to be able to do a lot with that time. Some people seem to do nothing with that time. And it all comes back to this particular skill because those 24 hours, that's your inventory. And you have to respect that there's some value in your time. Resilience. I went to a workshop one time on how do you teach resilience? And the bottom line is you can't. Resilience, you need to understand what it is. And it's one of those things that's a muscle. The more you get up when things are down or when you fail to accomplish something, or when life serves you lemons, or when you fail, the better you will get at getting up. So resilience is the ability to bounce back. You find that sometimes the people who've had the most adversity in their lives are the ones who have the most resilience. They've been forced to really develop that muscle to survive. And the ability to plan. If you can't put a plan in place and go forward with it, it's hard to do almost anything. So, and this is definitely a skill that you can develop. There are classes you can take and you can practice this and you can get better at planning. So these are what I would say, based on my opinion, the traits and the skills required for an entrepreneurial thinker, somebody with an entrepreneurial mindset. Now, one of the things that I do with all the programs that I run and all the courses that I offer is we always start out with a personal vision statement. And the reason we do that is because in order to know what to do in life and to live life intentionally and deliberately, you need to know where you're going. It is unusual for people to have a personal vision statement because we're always thinking about those things that are happening outside of us. But the personal vision statement is where you decide or declare what you want in your life. And it serves as a compass to guide other decisions because it tells you what's most important to you. So when I ask my students to write a personal vision statement, they are not allowed to talk about their job. They're not allowed to talk about their business, other than to mention that this job or this business or this career, they expect to help them live that life that they are defining for themselves. So this is the first thing that you would do as an entrepreneurial thinker is decide on a very personal life level, where am I going? So that you're not 80 years old and turn around and say, how did I get here? I didn't want to be here. It allows you to set some goals on the most important thing, which is your life. And so everybody had to go through this exercise. And oddly enough, I was critiquing some students' personal vision statements. I was being pretty hard on them because I know it's difficult to think just about yourself and how you live without thinking about the job and without thinking about the business. And the personal vision statements were actually not that good. And they said, well, Ms. Gales, go off and can you bring us some examples of a perfect personal vision statement? And I went back to the source of all wisdom, Google, and I found some that were okay. None of them were perfect. I brought them back to class and showed it to them. I said, this personal vision statement is good, except this is wrong with it. And I went through each of the 4 examples and they said, well, Ms. Gales, surely your personal vision statement is perfect. Why don't you just show us yours? And so they called me out on that because I really didn't have one myself. I thought I had it in my head. And they forced me to go back and write a personal vision statement, which I did. And I still use that to this day. I wrote it 4 years ago. And I look at it constantly and fine tune it so that I can stay focused on what matters most. And it actually helps me to identify opportunities, not just business opportunities, but opportunities in life, because now I know what matters most. And so I would encourage you, as you're developing anything, if you want to infuse some entrepreneurship in any of your programs or any of your activities, have them start with this first, the personal vision statement, and it really defines how they approach everything else. So what's in a personal vision statement? I mentioned that they can't talk about their business and they can't talk about their jobs. They have to talk about where they want to live, what type of place they want to live in, and what type of schedule they want to have. Do they want to have lots of flexibility in their schedule? Do they want to be able to travel, work from anywhere? How much time do they want to spend on spirituality? What about their focus on their mental health? What about their physical health? What about their family? How much time do they want to spend on family? What type of family do they want to have? What types of things do they want to do with that family? And from a professional perspective, not talking about the job and not talking about the business specifically, but what type of environment do they want to work in? Do they want to work around a lot of people, or do they want to be basically in a solitary work environment, just focusing and concentrating? What type of responsibility do they want to have? Do they want to work in an environment where they're very hands-on and involved in all the work? Or do they want to be more of a supervisory designer type of role? What type of strengths, skills, or preferences do they want to see exhibited in their professional life? And what type of job security do they want? Do they really want that steady thing, or do they want that excitement of something that's not so clearly defined? What type of income do they need to live that lifestyle they're defining? And where would they like to work? So if people think about all this, they'll come back with something that really showcases how they want to live their lives. And I encourage my students to, if they're involved with somebody, they have a significant other, have that person do the same thing and then compare them. And sometimes they're amazed at what they find when they go off and do it separately and then come back and compare. So hopefully this perspective has helped you. But so what do you do next? If you want to learn more about the entrepreneurial mindset, I'm going to drop something in the chat in a minute, where you can actually go get certified to teach the entrepreneurial mindset. You can incorporate bits and pieces of this into your classes and into your programs, as you may ask your students to define what they want to get out of whatever class they're in or whatever program they're in. You can invite entrepreneurs and entrepreneurial thinkers to speak to your class, to come in as a guest lecturer for 45 minutes if you've got some slack and some elasticity in your curriculum. And so one way to identify potential speakers is, to ask around. So people at Wake Tech and others can ask me, because I've got a program in Wake County that come this December will have over 500 graduates, and these are all small business owners and entrepreneurs. And we have a very hefty small business center at Wake Tech that serves about 600 people a year, all small business owners and entrepreneurs. And there are probably people at your institution who can help you identify guest speakers who have either started something from scratch. It doesn't have to be a for-profit business. It could be a club. It could be a nonprofit. It could be a church. It could be a community program. It could be something right there at the institution. Because what you're trying to get from these people and what you want them to share with your students is the thought process behind how they were able to go into this blank, empty room, or look at this blank piece of paper, or look at this problem and say, I'm going to develop something. Look for people who work to solve particular social problems. Those are some of your best, most dedicated, committed entrepreneurial thinkers, because oftentimes these people aren't doing it to make money. They're doing it because they have the heart to serve. And anybody who's striving to do or be better and can document a process or steps they've taken would be great speakers for your class if you're trying to get at the entrepreneurial mindset. So I'm going to open it up for questions now. And I am going to, I'm going to stop sharing if that's okay, Mara.
Yes, ma'am. That's fine.
As soon as I can get my cursor over here. And while we're waiting for some questions to come in, I am going to, how do I get out of this? Oh, there you go. I'm going to look up that link.
Oh, perfect. There was a question that came in while you're pulling things up, Katie. They were wondering if you could share your personal vision statement.
Oh, no fair. I will.
We may have lost a few people. I just got a notification that Spectrum is having some outages in several areas.
Wow.
I'm glad that we are recording, but some may be having, I also was having a technical difficulty.
Well, I may be having some network problems too, because now my link won't come up.
Well, we're glad we still have you, and I'm happy to share that link when I send out and post the recording.
Yep, it's not coming up, and I don't know why. It's called the Entrepreneurial Learning Initiative. Entrepreneurial Learning Initiative, and you can Google that. Okay, so they wanted to see my personal vision statement. Let me go find it. And I hope this is the most recent one. Okay, I'll go back and I'll share again. You guys are really putting me on the spot. Who said that? Let me talk to them. Okay, here's my personal vision statement. Now, I wrote this about 4 years ago. So personal vision statement is aspirational. It's not about where you are today. It's about that spot on the horizon that you're working towards. Because I'm definitely not doing this. But you'll see that I want to spend at least 2 days a week writing books, creating podcasts, and virtual training programs. One day I'll write a book of poems and a movie. Gonna do it. Actually, I have the book of poems already written. Has 28 poems. And it's just waiting to be formatted. But I'm not making any money on this. I just want to just want to be a poet, because people don't buy poetry books. At least that's what the poets I know tell me. I will surround myself with other positive, creative people who have a growth mindset. And this was important to me because a growth mindset says, you're not a tree. You're not a tree. If you don't like where you are, you can move. That's what a growth mindset means. I will be physically active and make my health and well-being a priority. So no more 14-hour days. I want to spend a lot of time with my family, have enough money to give generously to them while I am alive. So I don't want to die and leave a big insurance policy. And I want to give them stuff now, and to leave a financial and creative legacy when I am gone. I want my child and my family to be proud of me and to trust me to keep their secrets and support their dreams. I want to be the friend I would like to have, which is a person that's not willing to win at the cost of another's spirit. My house will be small, but surrounded by nature, so I can have a garden, a gazebo, and a fire pit. It will be airy and filled with natural light. It will contain the things that bring me joy and will be free of clutter. And it will probably be in the southern United States, most likely in North Carolina. I will live close enough so that I can conveniently get to the people that I value most. And then from a professional perspective, though I may reduce my level of professional activity, I'll never retire. I don't knit, I don't crochet, I don't play golf. I'm never going to retire. So I understand that. So I want to work directly with customers no more than 3 days a week. I'll have flexibility and the tools to work wherever I am at the time, giving me the freedom to travel. And my time will be worth at least $250 an hour, because I'll be recognized as an expert and thought leader in my area. So there. But let me tell you what I did with this when I wrote it 4 years ago. I realized that I was doing everything wrong based on my personal vision statement. And I went and I immediately decided that I was going to sell my house, because it is not small. And I have rooms that have cobwebs in them. But what I found was, based on real estate prices in the triangle, that it's better for me to stay where I am. Like, it's cheaper to keep her. So now I'm focused on making it feel like that cozy cottage, although maybe 2 or 3 cozy cottages in one, but it allowed me, I hadn't even thought about selling my house, but now I'm taking a different perspective on it. I'm doing things to my backyard, and I'm developing skills that will let me get to the place that I want to be eventually. So whoever asked to see my personal vision statement, was that helpful? Do you have any questions?
It looks like many are inspired now to create their own. So I think you sharing yours, Katie, was
Oh,
very
wait.
helpful.
And if they're so inspired that I can call them out, I'm going to stop sharing. I can call them out and have them email me their personal vision statements by end of day tomorrow. No, that's not fair. It took me 3 days to write this. I've gotten personal vision statements from people that's 3 lines. That's not enough. And I've gotten personal vision statements from people that are 4 pages. That's too much. They need to think about that thing because it doesn't take that many words. But I do recommend that you do write your personal vision statement. It will be life-changing and transformative. Remember that it's aspirational. Don't get caught up on where you are today. Think about that place on the horizon that you want to get to. And if you're working directly with students, either in student services or career support or counseling, I think this is a great exercise for them. Most of the time, I'm working with adult learners here at Wake Tech. Lots of times, I'm working with people who are out in the community who are coming to our small business and entrepreneurship programs, and having them work on their personal vision statement before we even start talking about whatever business they want to start has changed a lot of minds about what they're doing with their business. Because if your job and your career and your business doesn't support the life you want to live, why are you doing that? Why? I see from Dennis. Yes. Okay, everybody pay attention to the chat. Dennis has volunteered to be a speaker. And Dennis, I'm very familiar with how to make money when you don't have a job class that Wake Tech offers in our HRD program. Be careful what you ask for, Dennis. Any questions? Let me see if I can get the Entrepreneurial Learning Initiative up on my computer again.
Katie, is it elimindset.com?
It is.
Okay, I'm going to pull it up and I'll share it in the chat for you.
Thank you. I don't know why it's not coming up on my system. You can get it?
I'm trying. I'm also having some. Yep, I have it. I'll share it in the chat.
Great. So they have a great 8-module curriculum. Yeah, that's it. They have a great 8-module curriculum that starts, I think the first 4 modules are all about growth mindset, internal locus of control, understanding the difference between reaction and response. And then the 5th module is about how do you recognize an opportunity? Not necessarily how do you start a business, but how do you recognize an opportunity? How do you recognize someplace where you can make an impact? What problems do you want to solve? And then the last 3 modules are about some basics of thinking through whether or not you want to, let's say, go to a business planning class to start that business, or go to a nonprofit development class to start that nonprofit. But I highly recommend it. I refer to it a lot. I have not taught the entire curriculum anywhere, but I've taught bits and pieces of it. And I even went into Wake Corrections and taught a couple of modules over a 5-hour class to people who are incarcerated. And it was amazing. I thought they would find it really boring, because teaching the entrepreneurial mindset is not about teaching people to actually do anything. It's all about making them think. And sometimes people don't want to put that time into reflection. And I thought these incarcerated men would say, oh, this is so boring. Some of them were close to getting out. And I found that there was a lot of conversation about that, because they related to the curriculum. Many of them were there because they didn't really understand the difference between a reaction and a response. Where a reaction is something that you don't think about as knee-jerk, and a response is something that you've thought about, that's deliberate, you've understood the consequences and that type of thing. And they also really related to the growth mindset, that you are not a tree mindset, because all of them were going to have challenges when they came out and trying to move themselves from where society will see them to where they ultimately want to be. So I think that in that entrepreneurial mindset curriculum, you can find something for everybody. They do have a student curriculum, and they also have a community and entrepreneur curriculum. And they have an online support. Their curriculum is online. You can get workbooks. And there's also a book called Who Owns the Ice House, upon which this whole curriculum was based. Okay, Nicole says she's a poet too. Great, Nicole. Do you have a book? Maybe Nicole left us. Ah, Nicole has a book. Why don't you drop in the, if it's available online, why don't you drop that into the chat window? Did you see any like characteristic or skill that when you think about the entrepreneurial thinker, you guys think I should add to my list? And how many of you are working directly with students? I think Floyd Harris works directly with students. Yep. LP Robinson's working directly with students over in Disability Resource Office. Okay. All right, that is a long URL for Nicole's poetry book, but there it is, folks. Wow. A dentist works with 120 to 180 students per year in the Wake Tech HRD program. How to make money when you don't have a job. And that's another way of saying, how to make money as an entrepreneur. And most people, when you really start getting into their mindset and seeing opportunity, most people have some skill or some knowledge that could make them money if they change the way they viewed it. Or change it, understand that while you may take the skill or knowledge for granted because you've always had it, that other people would find it really valuable and fascinating and interesting. And so sometimes just thinking entrepreneurial, which, see, why didn't they find another word? I misspell and mispronounce that word 3 times a day. If you think entrepreneurially, it changes the way people see themselves often as well. It'll change the value that they place on themselves and their ability. Okay, thanks, Dennis. In academic advising, I know when I started college, if I had to go back, I would probably have taken a different path, but I just got in the line that was the shortest line for registration because the sociology line was going around the building, and that's what I thought I wanted, but business administration was short, and I figured I'd change my major in 2 years anyway, so let me just get through this and get done with it. And I didn't put a lot of thought into which career I chose because I had no real view of where I was headed with my life, except that I wanted to have some money so I could buy a car and rent an apartment. That was it. But I think if you're in academic advising, helping students to think through how they want to live, and notice, at 18 years old, 20 years old, even I think up to 30 sometimes, people are still trying to learn themselves enough to know exactly where they're going. So what I tell my students who are adults is this is not like the 10 Commandments. It's written in stone. This is your personal vision statement is a living, breathing document that's there as a guide for you that you can refer back to and keep changing, because you're going to change and you're going to learn things and see things that might change the spot on the horizon where you think you're going. And so that takes some of the pressure off, that they're not afraid to write down a personal vision statement like they can never change it. No, you can change it next week if you learn something about yourself, or if you think a little bit more about something, or maybe your personal vision statement is one thing and you get this massive inheritance that changes everything about what you're able to do. One of the things that changes people a lot is changes in their family. So when people get their first grandchild, that changes their personal vision statement a lot, because maybe they thought they were going to move to the Dominican Republic in retirement. But now the thought of being that far away from that little grandbaby is just out of the question. Now, all of a sudden, their personal vision statement is changing because their lives changed. Okay.
Katie, this has been fantastic. I've seen this session before and it just gets better every time that you do it.
Thank
So
you.
we so much appreciate you coming and participating with us today. Did you want to plug any of the things happening with Innovate Raleigh or the Entrepreneurship Committee while we have you?
Yes, thank you, Mara, so much. And thank you for your leadership in the CRC. We are so active this year. We do have an entrepreneurship committee that we are a little bit different from other CRC committees in that our focus is on combining resources across all of the 6 institutions to make entrepreneurship information and opportunities more accessible to all of our students. So we're not so much focused on entrepreneurship from a professional development perspective inside the institutions. We want to deliver more value to our students. And we have students who will be participating in the Innovate Raleigh Summit that's happening this Friday. It's an annual event. I don't know exactly how many students we're having participate, but we have some that are volunteering to be runners and help with logistics. We have at least 2 that are helping with the ideation session, which is great. And we have others that just have free tickets and they're just there to participate. And we are really grateful to the Innovate Raleigh organization and the Raleigh Chamber for gifting us with these tickets. Our participation is part of something that we are piloting this semester called the Student Entrepreneurship Passport. And the purpose of the Passport program is to motivate students to participate in entrepreneurship programs at other institutions. So there are things that every institution offers for students around entrepreneurship that might be appropriate for students from other colleges to participate in. And we want to identify those things, ideally 2 per institution, and then motivate the students through a passport where we will register how many programs they participate in and give them little gifts to recognize their participation. And like I said, we're piloting it this semester and learning a whole lot about how to do this and looking forward to making it a bigger deal next semester. So I'm really excited about what this can mean for our students and the fact that no single institution would have to carry the full burden of entrepreneurship information and opportunities for their students, because all 6 of the institutions are contributing to the opportunities that the students can take advantage of. You want to add anything to that, Maura?
No, I did drop the link for more information about the Student Entrepreneurship Passport program and some events we have coming up. So if you have students who may be interested in the opportunity to participate, please share it with them. We're hoping to have even more events coming next semester. And we are grateful for our partners at VACO for some sponsorship on some of the prizes that we are giving to students and incentives we are giving to students to participate. With the Innovate Raleigh free tickets, we still have a few left over. I can drop that link here too.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Do that.
If you have students who may want a free opportunity to come to the Innovate Raleigh Summit event, it's titled Then, Now, Next. We have a few spots still available for students and they can come for free for the day. It is from 12:30 to 5:30, I believe, on Friday, the 29th. So I am going to go ahead and plug our next CRC professional development mini series event. We are moving to more of a personal development event coming up in November. And let me go ahead and share my screen and I will show you our flyer. The next session is Feed Your Soul Wellness for the Holidays and Beyond. A local registered dietitian, Wendy Pedraza, and a Meredith graduate student, Leanne Green, will be providing an opportunity for us to learn more about nutrition during the holidays, navigating the holidays and beyond with seasonal treats, and then there will be a cooking demonstration at the end. It is November 18th. It is a lunch and learn session at 11:30, and registration is now open. It will be in my newsletter that goes out. And so we hope to see you all then. Thank you
So
all.
I will get you a copy of the updated presentation so you can mail it out.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. This session has been recorded and we will have it on the CRC website, and any additional resources, and the session itself will also be available there. So thank you so much. There was a question about the passport events, if they're available for seniors. Absolutely. It is a semesterly event. Katie made sure of that when we discussed that with VACO. So each semester we will start over, so that students that are graduating don't feel like they can't participate. They absolutely can. If there's any other questions that you have for Katie while we have her here, Katie, I had no idea that you charge $250 an hour, and I feel like I use so much of your time. I owe you a lot of money.
Maybe this is aspirational. It's aspirational. Put it on my account.
I know. Every time I email you, I'll have to remember that now. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed it, and we can't wait to see you at more of the Cooperating Raleigh College's staff professional development events in the future.
Bye, everybody.